Hello, this is lab number 6, video summary, physics 1401 for friction. And the procedure for this lab is the purpose for this experiment is to study the laws of friction and to determine the coefficient of friction between two surfaces. The two surfaces I studied in this experiment were on a board ramp, if you will. It's a wooden board and measured. I used a 3.5 foot, 10 centimeter width, and also on a carpet. So this is to create friction to the block that's traveled on horizontally. Anyhow, the materials I incorporated into this laboratory, I provided a ramp board, and let me illustrate that. Here's the ramp or the board that I used, and it's 3.5 foot long, 10 centimeter, about 10 centimeter width approximately. I used a here's the tape measure as well. Masking tape, and what I did was I taped each end of the board so that it wouldn't move as I pull the wooden block, or the block, if you will, with the spring scale, 500 grams spring scale, incorporated into this experiment. I also used a protractor, the sandpaper. Here's one. Here's the sandpaper here, and I use another one. Here we go. It's this one. And what I did was in one of the experiment, I placed the block onto the sandpaper to create friction. Moving forward, I also I used a can of soda. Was a can of can of soda, and that's in the refrigerator right now. And the spring scale, the 500 gram spring scale, a protractor, and I used this as well. I used this to, place it on. Just added more materials into my experiment. I added this, placed it on top of the wooden block. And here's the block right here. So I placed this on top of it. It's like a copper material, if you will, and just to combine the two to have more force, result additional force. Okay, for this experiment I recorded, or experiment number 1 procedure, I recorded measurements in newtons. I determined basically I had to determine the force of kinetic or sliding friction and static friction. Before I began my experiment, I weighed the wooden block. That's this one here, the wooden block, and the soft drink, the soda drink can. I then recorded the combined weight in grams and newtons into the data table 1. Next, I placed a ramp board, which is this one. Okay. I used also, I'm sorry, I didn't mention about the metric ruler. Okay. And then I placed the ramp board, initially I placed it horizontally on a table. I taped each ends of the board with masking tape to keep it from sliding. Then I connected the block's hook to the 500 gram spring scale. The experiment number 2, more of the procedure. This is more I had to determine the force of kinetic friction and static friction using a different surface area. So in this case, I placed the wood, the ramp on the carpet to create more friction. And so what I did was I turned the wooden block on its side, where it's on top of the on its side. So using the spring scale, I slowly pulled the wooden block lengthwise along the horizontal board, the ramp board. And so once the block is moving, once it was moving with a constant speed, I then recorded a force indicated on the scale, on the reading scale. So I repeated this process I performed this 3 times, and to get my results, and recorded my results into the data table provided into the lab assistant report. And what I did was I recorded into data table 1, data table 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then it's all into its category. Okay, and then now, so for the next procedure, I had to determine the coefficient of static friction using an inclined surface. So what I did was I obtained the board. Well, I used the board, the ramp board, and I inclined it, and I laid it on top of a stacked. I used textbooks for my procedure. I inclined it on top of the stacked textbooks to be in a inclined position. All right, and so I raised one end of the board, and as it was inclined in an inclined position, the block, using the spring scale and pulling it horizontally. So as I started to slide it down, I had to seek the value of the angle with the horizontal at which the block breaks away. So what I did was to obtain a value, I measured the base and the height of the triangle formed by the board. And so what I did was I took the height divided by the length of the base, to equal the coefficient of the static friction. Then at the end of my lab, so to conclude, I performed calculations for first initially finding the coefficient of the kinetic friction by combining the mass of blocks and average force of kinetic friction. And so I recorded my results after I performed my calculations into data table 1, and then so I repeated this I performed the calculations for like the following and recorded my results into data table 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. So I had to then compare the two surfaces, one on top of the board on top of the table, and the board on top of the I would say 3. Well, not two surfaces. Okay, is laid flat. Actually, it laid flat horizontally on top of a table and on top of a carpet. Now the other position was inclined. So, and then I recorded in my results everything else into the appropriate table. Well, that's the end, and thank you very much for this, again, Physics 1401 Lab number 5. Number 5, and thank you very much.